This is an ABP Live Podcast.
Hi everyone, you're listening to ABP Live Podcasts and I'm your host Niharika Nanda on Ladies First, a podcast where we talk to the real girl bosses of the 21st century. And today we have one such girl boss, Miss Meera Gandhi. Hello ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Niharika.
Same here, it's a pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
Thank you.
So Miss Meera Gandhi is a global philanthropist. She has worked with the likes of Hilary Clinton and she is also the founder of the Giving Back Foundation, which has been working for the cause of right for education and employment since 2010. So how has your experience been till now, ma'am? It's been over a decade now.
I think the joy you get from running a foundation is tremendous because the real joy in the world, I think, is when we're in service of other people.
Definitely.
I think seva is really the most joyful experience. It's
Undoubtedly.
not only good for evolution, but it's just the way the human psyche is. With running the foundation, we have been involved with supporting many institutions. We have given out educational grants. We have been a vehicle for positivity. We have sponsored the Giving Back Award at the Woodstock Film Festival for any producer, director, screenwriter who produces positive content. And I'm proud to say some of the recipients of the Giving Back Award have been Meera Nair from India, Mark Ruffalo, to name a few. And the last thing we do is mental wellness. We have an Instagram series. We've done a TV show, which has run for an entire season. We have retreats, Ledgewood retreats with yoga and meditation. So we are doing a lot of things. And not only has it been joyful and it's helped a lot of people, but I think along the way, I've met some amazing people. The recipients of help and the people who are helping. So it's been a very rewarding experience.
Definitely. And you have been a multifaceted person. You're an author. You have worked in a TV show. You've done so much in your entire life. And now you've come up with your own book by the name of 3 Tips by Meera Gandhi.
Right here.
So, it is not just a book, it is a multimedia experience. You have also created your own show by the name of the Meera Gandhi Show.
Yes.
So, how did these two things come along? Like, what was your chain of thought when you were working out this entire multimedia experience?
I mean, it sort of happened organically.
Okay.
It was really not planned. We didn't expect it to grow this way.
Right.
I was filming the Meera Gandhi show on B4U TV, North America. And on the second show, we had taken a coffee break and we were sitting around the table in a cafe. And I was giving them some advice because a couple of members of the crew had come late and I was giving them some advice on punctuality. I'm like, the first tip about punctuality, make sure you set an alarm. Second tip, check the traffic. Third, pack your bag ahead of time. And they were all laughing. So when we got back to shoot the episode, the producer said, hey Meera, in this episode, why don't you do 3 tips on love? So I started doing 3 tips on love, and then after that we did 3 tips on different topics, finding peace. And after that, after the show ran, we had like a lot of feedback from viewers who were like writing in saying, can you give us 3 tips on this and 3 tips on that?
Right.
And from there, we developed the 3 Tips show, which was a short format, under 1 minute, about 58 seconds, with a major Indian TV network. We ran a few episodes. It was a work for hire project. I paid for the project. They produced it, at least 3-4 episodes. Then we produced the rest ourselves. And 3 Tips are running on Instagram. When we started, we had, I think, 700 followers, and we've now grown to 2.4 million.
That's amazing. Kudos
obviously,
to you and your work.
I mean,
And
people are
your entire team.
resonating with it.
Right.
And then from there, it's a very long question you asked me. From there, we evolved into doing the book. Because one day my son said to me, Mom, it would be great to have the 3 tips in one place. On Instagram, we have to keep searching what you posted when by topic.
Right.
So we have produced the book, which is here. And I must say, it's really making ripples. We also have an app that we've launched this week.
Okay.
It's called
This
3
week
Tips
itself?
by 3 Tips by Meera Gandhi. It just went live. It got approved by Apple right away. And you can just type in the search bar love, and the tips on love will come up, or relationships, and then the tips will, so you can look at the tips if you're in a hurry. If you have little more time, you can look at the context as a bit of narration.
Right.
If you have little more time, you can watch the video. I think it's just an awesome pop way of, I would sort of call it spirituality, but it's a very pop way of finding solutions to our day-to-day problems.
Definitely, and I think the entire idea of the 58-second short format is great because the pop is exactly the right word for it. Because these days, the generation, the Gen Z, millennials, they are all into reels and shorts, and they're very short form content. Crisp and short things. So I think that's a very great idea of moving into the entire concept of short form content.
Exactly, and I feel that I have 40 years of experience listening to gurus, reading books, and this is my contribution to people to be able to condense it and offer it up.
Right.
Obviously, in every generation, there's someone who comes forward. We have Satguru, we have Deepak Chopra. I mean, obviously, these are giants. I'm on the ground level. I'm nowhere near them, but this is my attempt to share solutions in a spiritual light, in a very quick, palatable manner, so that when Gen Zs or millennials need solutions, they can just dial into it.
Exactly, because that's how the world is working these days.
Yes.
Everything you need, it is there on Google, it is there on the internet, just by the click of a finger. So I think that's a really good thing that you've also made solutions like this available for the general public on such a quick medium.
Thank
You just mentioned Mr. Deepak Chopra. So how was the experience of actually meeting someone you look up to?
Met him on several occasions, and I do the Deepak Chopra meditation every day, sometimes 3 times a day.
Okay.
And I have to say, his meditation technique and what he is offering to the world, I mean, kudos to Deepak ji, because he's helping so many of us, including me.
Right.
And I had the privilege of attending a very amazing meditation 2 months ago in the Botanical Gardens of New York in Brooklyn, in a glass house surrounded by plants. And it was by invitation. There were about 100 young people. Jesse Israel, who's now emerged as a meditation leader amongst the younger Gen Zs, and Deepak Chopra led it, and we sat there for 45 minutes. Honestly, I don't know, it seemed like 1 minute. It just passed. It was such a powerful meditation. So Deepak Chopra is doing a lot of things with young people, and I have to say, I respect him and I love him.
Right. So you are creating content around spirituality, around wellness. So what is wellness for you and what is spirituality for you?
For me, wellness is twofold. It's threefold. There's physical wellness, there is mental wellness, and there's emotional wellness. And all these three have to be in balance for us to really function at our optimal.
Right.
And the way society has progressed with messages of competition and stress and fear for future, I mean, it's completely disbalanced people.
Yes.
There's more
The entire
mental
idea of hustle culture is stressing people out.
It is, there's so much mental unwellness. It's absolutely crazy. People may look, we went through the Jane Fonda fitness where we realized, okay, we have to be fit, we have to hit the gym, we have to do yoga. So I think physical fitness awareness is out there. Mental wellness is now coming.
Right.
But I think the third step is the emotional wellness, which can be found only through a spiritual dimension, because we are basically spiritual divine beings.
Right.
And so my book is really an attempt to provide both a vehicle for spiritual, which is emotional wellness, and mental wellness.
Definitely.
And I feel like it's the right book at the right time. And I resisted doing this for a long time because I thought, I live in the material world. I live on Park Avenue, and I'm successful, and I'm well off, and am I really the person to do this? Like, what will people say? But it's like I feel this is my mission and I'm ready to do it. And I think when you're true to your journey and you find your mission, and this is definitely my mission, that I'm able to deliver a message, and I really hope a lot of people will benefit from it.
They will, for sure.
And I think I'm older and wiser, and I think when the intention is pure, the message carries really far.
It does, definitely. You just mentioned stress and this entire idea of competition. I'm sure that in your journey, when you started it, there must have been certain challenges that you had to face and certain problems that you had that occurred on your path. So, what were certain challenges that you had to face during this entire journey?
You mean in my life or in the journey of creating three
Both
tips?
ways, both ways. Your life has been equally inspirational, so it can be either ways.
Um, I think some of the challenges I faced in my life, I mean, I had a very happy childhood, a very successful youthhood,
Right.
you know, as president of college and so on and so forth. I think I had to changing many countries and living in so many countries was very stressful for me because I don't like that change and that feeling of uprooting myself and the kids and moving to a new place. I found that pretty challenging, and it definitely took me mentally off balance for a while. I just was not finding my center, which is partially a good thing, because out of that, I understood that being mentally not fully in equilibrium is a very uncomfortable place to be.
Right.
And I found there are a lot of other people in the situation, and out of that came the desire to do this book and to share this knowledge. So
Blessing in disguise.
it was a blessing in disguise. Yeah, the challenges turned out to be blessing in disguise. And I think that more and more people see that's what happens. Things happen in your life to make you uncomfortable and take you back on your path, on the path you're meant to be on.
Right. Because many times we get comfortable and then we see that, okay, I'm at this point in my life,
Right.
I'm comfortable, I'm fine. Why do I have to go that extra mile? But I think those challenges is what actually takes you and motivates you to go that extra mile.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, Three Tips by Meera Gandhi, your book. What are the crux of the book? What is the crux of the book, and what are the three tips about in general?
So in this book, we have 52 tips, and the topics range from conflict, relationships, finding balance in your life, rebuilding. Rebuilding is particularly one of my favorite topics. Finding love, how do you keep friendship in your life? It's 52 topics. I mean, I can even open the book to let you look at the contents.
Right.
So we have, for example, scheduling travel decisions, 3 tips on being a good leader, 3 tips on how to recharge your home and workspace, 3 tips on resolving conflicts, which I said,
Right.
3 tips on keeping your goals realistic. Like, set your goals to win. I mean, don't understate your goals, but also make realistic goals.
Right.
Like, if I make a goal that I want to be a triathloner and be in the next Olympics, I mean, I am going to fail.
Right.
So we have to be very realistic in our goals. And my tips really guide readers as to how they can do that.
Definitely.
And I'm really walking the talk, because every single anecdote here is based on my true life experience and what I've learned from myself and other masters. And so I feel, I know for a fact that if you do this, it will work, because it's worked for me.
Right. So that is how it becomes a memoir along with a self-help book.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat autobiographical, you know.
Right.
I totally inspired. My favorite book of all time is Paramhansa Yogananda's
Right.
Man's,
Right.
not Eternal Truth, Autobiography of a Yogi, but his other book, Man's Eternal Truth, which is not very well read by people and not as popular, is equally dynamic and powerful, and it's always on my bedside table along with my Bible.
So that's how it.
So I think
also
somehow
sort
it
of
influenced me,
inspiration, right.
subconsciously inspired me to write in that style, which I'm just realizing now as I speak to you.
Right. So tell me this: you've produced your own show, you've written your own book. What was more enjoyable, the production part of it or the writing bit?
The writing of the book was definitely more enjoyable, because when I produced the show, thank you, when I produced the show, I was scripting it, I was on air. I mean, sometimes I've been directing the cameras,
Right.
and so pulling permits. So it was a very, very stressful to wear all those hats and do it. Yeah, we managed.
Undoubtedly.
We managed, and we have a relatively good product. But I think it was extremely stressful. But I was just starting out. I didn't know better. Now, of course, I've learned from that you bring people on the journey who are going to be able to do the job, so that you can do You can do what you're doing,
Delegate.
and they can do what they're doing.
Right.
And so I've learned from that. It was a bit stressful. Writing the book was just a pleasure. I wrote some of it when I went to Tulum in Mexico. I was on a yoga retreat, and I slept in a shack on the ocean,
Wow.
which was incredible. But after 3 weeks, I said I never want to sleep on a shack on the ocean because the waves, they don't stop crashing. Like the noise, it's
Continuous,
non-stop.
it's non-stop,
And
right.
now I live on a river, and it's very calm. It also makes me understand why rishis, munis, hermits, they build their ashrams not on a seaside, but on the side
On
of
the side
river
of a
banks.
river,
You know,
right, right.
because I've
It's
experienced
more
like
calm and peaceful.
100%, 100%.
So, from India to US to Mexico, so many travels as you mentioned. So, how have your travels influenced your book?
Well, travel is about places and people. Every place has a different energy.
Right.
Different people have different things that they talk about, and you learn from them. Sometimes I learn just by observing. Sometimes I learn from my mistakes. But I think the best part of traveling and doing stuff all over the world is that you understand all human beings, we are basically the same.
Right.
We want love and respect, we want peace and harmony, and we want our needs to be provided for.
Right.
And we all want to be spiritually connected to the higher source. So the more I travel, the more I realize these are the qualities that are important to almost everybody on the planet.
And what brings the entire human race together?
Absolutely, yes.
There is even though we can be different culture-wise, we can be different religion-wise, we can be different values-wise, but there is a certain centered belonging that sort of brings everyone together.
Exactly.
So, ma'am, you've met so many great personalities, including Miss Hilary Clinton. So, how was that experience? How rewarding did it feel?
It's extremely rewarding.
And you've not just met, you've even worked with them.
Mrs. Clinton is absolutely dynamic. She is one of my heroes. I've been very fortunate to travel with Mrs. Cherie Blair, the wife of former UK Prime Minister
Right.
Tony Blair. I think I've learned a lot from traveling with Mrs. Blair because she is extremely practical and she's kind. And I talk about one incident in my book when we were in Hong Kong together. She had finished a breakfast meeting, and for some reason we couldn't find the car and driver to take us to the next event.
Right.
And I was on the phone trying to call the driver, her PA was trying to call, we couldn't find the car, and Mrs. Blair was very practical. Cherie said, she put her hand out. She said, "Let's take a taxi and go to the Ocean Center." She said, "I have 1,000 people coming, and I can't keep them waiting."
Definitely.
You know,
That's how grounded she is. That you don't
Practical.
really need a fancy car or driver or chauffeurs.
Get the
to
job
drive you,
done.
Right. The important thing here is the work.
and she knows how to be a friend. I know that she's of course the Prime Minister's wife, but she really knows how to be a friend, and I'm very blessed to have her in my life and to continue to learn so much from her.
Definitely. So let's end this amazing conversation on the fact that your foundation, the Giving Back Foundation,
Yes.
your work towards girls' education and employment.
Yes.
How has that come along in the last couple of years? How do you see the growth?
Well, it started with one project, which is right here in Delhi. So it started with one project and supporting this institution and providing food. We redid the entire school, the hostel, the bedrooms. We did entire gardens. We fixed the auditorium. We did a whole new kitchen, and it started there. And then, of course, the second pillar came in about spreading positivity. I have a book out called Giving Back.
Okay.
In that we talk about the various charities we've worked with. We worked with the Cherie Blair Foundation. We worked with Bono One. Worked with Donna Karan's Urban Zen, which is for mental wellness. So I think that we've walked an incredible journey. It's been 3/4 of a century. I mean, 1/4 of a century, 25 years, and now it's 35 years. And yeah, the mission continues to grow, and more people. We walk with more people. We serve more people. We learn from more people. I think it's just been steadily growing.
It's amazing, and the cause that you're working for is noble in its own self. It's not a problem just for one country. It's a global thing we've seen. As far
Exactly.
as women's education and employment and growth in general is concerned, we've seen that in the last decade things are changing and things are improving. But then again, we do need people like you, thought leaders like you, who can actually inspire more and more girls and parents out there to sort of, let their girls be out there and be what they want to be. So that, thank you for doing that for so many girls out there.
You're welcome. And I think with this mental wellness, we really want to touch upon young people all over the world. And I think this mental emotional wellness
Right.
is really a big push from our foundation and for me personally.
For sure. Thank you so much for joining me today, ma'am. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. Blessings. Thank
Same.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep listening to Ladies First on ABP Live Podcasts.